What is it like being skinny? I'm cold all the damn time. I can't sit for long periods of time because I don't have much padding. When I whack an arm or leg on something it hurts like hell, and it can be a bitch to find clothes that fit right, and if I fall ill and lose weight, I don't have as much wiggle room before it's an issue. I also can't swim super well because I have zero buoyancy. However, light physical activity doesn't leave me winded. I can fit into tighter places when I'm working on something or trying to make my way through a crowd. I don't wear the padding in chairs and seats out, among other things. It's worse when you're tall, lanky, and skinny. Ass hurts. These are in the spine of the person in front of you. Shoulders and elbows are in the aisle. The seat next to you had a 15-hour flight to Japan in 2019. You could have made like a whole sitcom episode out of just how many ways I was uncomfortable. Yes, I have that. Super freaking painful. Can't grab ice cubes or even cold drinks without it hurting my hands. Having to scrape off ice from the windshield of my car would have me sobbing in pain. An elderly lady at a nail salon I spoke to helped me find out it was rain odds. I hate when this comes up in the office. The thermostat is set too low for my comfort level and they're always like, "You're cold, pal?" ? I'm fine. As if I am weak for being cold, so I say I'm just always cold, but in reality, it's because I'm skinny and they are fat. They literally have an extra layer of fat to insulate their blood and organs from the constant cold blowing air of the AC. Can confirm. People ask me what school/year/grade I'm in all the time. It doesn't help that I work at a university, surrounded by first-year students and student staff. Ma'am, I'm 30 years old and I work here. Half the student staff here report to me, although lots of them ask if I'm one of them when I interview. Correct. Since your lungs are mostly air, pushing them into the water as much as possible makes floating easier. Then there are skinny folks like me with long muscular arms and legs, and very short torso. There's no magic positioning that will make me float. I sank straight to the bottom of the pool like a rock. I'm not skinny but I also don't float. I also have long legs, short torso and high bone density and just go down like a rock. The worst part is proving it to people in a pool. Yes, I am doing what you're telling me. I am relaxed. I am spread out. Behold as I submerge into the neath regardless. Thanks, finally someone that understands my pain. I was tired of people trying to tell me it was my fault or I wasn't doing this or that right. People with different body types that are convinced it must work for me as well because it works for them. No, it's not my fault that physics and biology doesn't work in my favor when it comes to swimming. It's not because I am not doing it right, or that I am afraid of water. No, it's not because I am not trying. I am 5 feet 5 inches. I don't go about lecturing every average person. Why can't you just bend your legs and jump up and grab a 10 feet basketball rim as easily as I could? Even well into my 30s, and I am 5 inches. I dated a tall girl once, super long trunk, shortish legs. For comparison, my waistline is comfortably at her belly button and she's 3 inches taller than me. That tells you how short my torso is compared to hers. She will take a deep breath in, without doing anything else, and standing upright in water, she will float up to her shoulders. It was like magic to me. I am doing push-ups in the bottom of the pool. It's no coincidence that Phelps, the Olympic swimmer, has the torso of a 6 feet 8 inches average human. Even though he isn't 6 feet 8 inches, long torso helps with floating. Dude, I was fat first, then I got skinny. People are so complicated. When I was fat, they complained about me being fat and started body shaming me. Now that I'm skinny, they say don't you eat anything, they'll vanish if you go more thin, etc. It's just confusing. People will always point fingers at you no matter what. I used to be fat and am now skinny, too. I had the same experience. My answer is being skinny hurts. bumping your hips into stuff, your butt hurting sitting for 5 minutes, and God forbid you bump your ankle on anything, there is no padding. On the flip side, being able to pull my knees to my chest when sitting is so comfy. It's my go-to comfort position. Also, one time I made a delivery at an apartment and the lady forgot to let me back out of the locked gate and I couldn't find her to leave. And so I just slipped through the bars. The gaps were so small I was shocked I fit, so both cool and uncomfortable. I always scoff and tell them to just take a look at my family. My grandmother was about 5 feet 3 inches and 80 pounds when she passed away from dementia at age 77. My mom is still the same weight she was when she had me. 30 years ago. She is now in her mid-late 50s. She doesn't follow any diets or exercises and never has. My dad does work with his hands a lot and lifts a lot for his job, but is still also a stick and always has been. He doesn't even have a stomach pouch, so just exactly how long do I wait? Both fun and not fun aspects. You fit in small corners and you can squeeze your hands through small gaps. Sometimes you feel like your bones are going to break because they're so small. As another mentioned, it may be hard to purchase a good pair of jeans because the length may not be right for your waist size. You'll get commented by your relatives on your weight every single meetup and they'll bug you with the "eat more" phrase. When you finally gain weight up to a healthy BMI range after a few years, the first thing they'll say is, "Wow, you're fat now." People will always find things to talk about. Being you is just fine. Smile. Been pretty underweight my whole life. It's good and bad. There's a lot of privilege in being skinny, but I think a lot of people take that as an excuse to make crude comments about your weight. Right to you. I've struggled with quite a few body image issues growing up. Just BC people would always tell me I looked anorexic or unhealthy. My wife is 30 and still has body image issues. She was always underweight growing up. Her mom and grandma, who are fat fucks, would constantly bother her about not eating enough and having no meat on her bones. A past boyfriend told her she wasn't a real woman because her boobs weren't that big, thanks to being underweight. Even now, after being married 5 years and me clearly showing how attracted I am to her, she still struggles with these issues. Obviously, it goes beyond just me recognizing how attractive she is. This is a deep-rooted issue for her and will take time for her to get over. She has recently reached the lower end of the normal weight BMI after some diet and weight training, but she's still self-conscious. I'm not a nutritionist, nor am I a sports player, but one idea might be to observe how professional American football players do things. They need to gain weight to play their sport, but they don't just eat junk all day. You could try doing a milder version of what they do. Once again, I'm not a nutritionalist or a sports player, so take that with a hefty grain of salt and make sure to talk to a health professional first. Now, I'm in no way an expert, but I feel like you could apply mostly the same as for people trying to lose weight. Track your calories, calculate how much kcal you need to reach your ideal weight and then slowly work towards it. Using an app can help. While this sounds easy, it's not. Accurately measuring your kcal intake alone usually helps people see why they are overweight, or in your case underweight. Assuming there are no underlying external factors like illness, I think that's the basics. I'm sorry I'll catch shit for your size. I'm big, and my best friend is thin. She's always been thin, and she's only 5 feet 2 inches. She has body image issues. She diets and exercises, but she is still not confident in the way she looks. Whenever she comments about the tiny little pooch on her stomach, I try to counter that with a compliment rather than making her feel bad for wanting to lose weight. I just tell her that she is beautiful regardless. We had a long talk the last time she came up for a visit, and I told her that as long as she is happy with herself, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. About a week or two later, she told me that it really made a difference what I said to her. She bought a bathing suit for the first time since she was a teenager. She's 35 now, and is much more confident now. Body shaming shouldn't be tolerated by anyone. No one should have to tolerate it at all, whether you are big or small. As long as you are happy with who you are, that is what matters. And of course you've got to try to stay healthy. Much love to everyone, love yourself and screw what anybody else. I'd say I'm pretty skinny, and honestly it's not that bad. You don't have to worry that much of what you eat. I know that one'll bite me in the ass later, and you're not always hungry, plus you occasionally have an easier time reaching in tight spaces, but the cold is a bitch. Frankly, if I'm in a temperature below 80 degrees, it's like being in a tundra. Winter is especially bad. I'm convinced that I've almost lost my hands during band. No gloves, so much cold weather. Also, shopping for jeans is like trying to find a 4-leaf clover after a nuclear winter. I'm happy with it, though. Beats being obese or anything like that. Male perspective here. Mixed bag. I eat whatever whenever, so that's sweet. Still have body image issues for lack of muscle mass. Contrary to lonely fluffy guys' perception, ladies aren't big into skinny guys on average. In my experience, they would rather date someone who can at least relate to their weight struggles, and otherwise they tend to be attracted to a more powerful, bigger build. No one will pull punches about your body. You are fair game to everyone, and they will be as brutal as they want, because they think you live at the top of the ivory tower. You know that you don't, but the public perception of fat people being the biggest. Seriously, not punning here. Victim paints an easy, low social risk target on you. The only escape from body shaming is restless gym work and a stellar diet. Same for fluffy folk, but no one is going to have your back, ever. This struck a nerve. People would ask me things like, "Are you anorexic?" in the middle of a restaurant, just because I didn't want to eat a hunk of bread with my soup starter, knowing I have got a huge main course coming. There are the subtle digs about being slim without muscle mass too, or it certainly felt that way. I'm in a different shape these days, but I think these comments initially spurred me into weight training. Basically, your lungs grow kind of weird and form these spots on the inside that are thinner. So there's a much bigger risk of your lungs collapsing, to the point of it happening completely spontaneous. It happens in really tall people, too. I'm 6'5" and my lung was just randomly collapsed one morning when I woke up. If it happens more than once, they will usually want to do a bigger surgery where they kind of pop and fix all of these weird bubbles. Major upside: the doctor always takes me seriously if I say there's something wrong. I have some joint problems, I've had hip issues, back trouble, etc., and no doctor has ever told me to lose weight. I get sent to the rheumatologist, the sports medicine doctor, physical therapy, whatever. If I were overweight, I would have to lose weight before I could see any of those people. I don't get to eat as much as I want. I have to eat more than I would choose to of my own volition. I eat plenty normally, 3 very large meals of super fatty foods plus 1-2 snacks. I say snacks because they have a similar caloric density to an average person's full meals, but still can barely keep on weight. Around January of this year, one realized I had hit 145 pounds, the lowest I've been in a while, due to the pandemic. That served as a sort of wake-up call, and since then I've been pretty good about downing at least 1 or 2 spoonfuls of peanut butter every day. Managed to finally hit 160, which is the highest I think I've ever been, so I'm quite proud of myself for that, even though it's still definitely way underweight for a 6'4" guy. I used to actually enjoy eating peanut butter sometimes, but now it's just become a matter of choking down a full spoonful a day. I don't hate it by any means, but it's started to taste pretty meh, and it really feels more like a chore. Still, it's worth it with how much weight I've gained. I bought some dress pants for the first time in a while a few months ago, and after having worn mostly sweatpants and t-shirts for so long, I had forgotten how hard it is to find clothes that actually fit. At the brick-and-mortar stores we went to, there were only a handful of options that were even long enough, and none that were both long enough and thin enough. Eventually, my mom had to buy the slim fit from Gap, which generally runs thinner than almost any other brand, and even then, I need to wear a belt, and one of them I even had to poke another hole and 2 inches past the last one because otherwise it was too loose. Gets cold easily. I have no blubber. It's both a blessing and a curse. On top of being kinda short, I'm really thin due to an eating disorder. The amount of places I can fit is fun, but I'm always struggling to put on weight. So far I'm up 1 pound. I know it doesn't seem like much, but it's a big deal for me. I just wish people would realize saying, "Oh my God, you're so skinny," can be really hurtful, especially to those of us trying to gain weight. I find myself losing a lot of weight from a mental health crisis several years ago. Everyone who told me I looked great, "Have you lost weight?" was just reminding me that I wasn't able to eat and was really struggling. If they had said, "Have you lost weight? Is everything okay?" I would have been much happier to receive that statement. Sometimes we lose weight for reasons that aren't dieting and acting like it's a great thing because skinny is just a horrible feeling. You get insulted quite often by larger women, I am woman, about they need their food, that they like their junk in the trunk, like their curves, get picked on for looking like a little boy. In all reality, it is just how your body is and it doesn't hold on to the food you eat like others do. A lot of men like to talk shit about you in front of curvy gals that they like some meat on their women. Right TF in front of you. The women go along with it unapologetically because you are just a skinny bitch in their eyes. The hardest part about gaining muscle isn't lifting the weights at the gym, it's eating enough. I managed to do it for a couple of years and the eating was the worst. I felt nauseous all the time and just kept eating more even though I hated it. It took so much determination to eat even though you are painfully full. I found that many people cannot comprehend this. They're like, "You can eat anything you want," when I'm like, "I'm full, I don't want to. My body is telling me to stop, it feels bad." I was super skinny all throughout my 20s. People can be extremely rude in ways they never would be to an overweight person. I was told I looked anorexic, that my hands looked like spiders, my legs were like toothpicks, and several men seemed to think it was important for me to know they weren't attracted to me because I was too thin. This was completely unprompted. The thinking seems to be, you are skinny because you want to be. You must think you're all that and need to be taken down a peg. That making negative comments about your appearance is fine because you're what everyone supposedly wants to be, or something. Some of the worst stuff came from other women who were clearly jealous and threatened even though they would say they'd never want to be that thin. It was really hurtful. I eventually gained weight and I'm even a little chubby now. I never make fun of skinny people, or fat people or anyone in between. For that matter, I've been there. Most people do not choose to be the weight they are, and even if they did choose it, it's none of my business. I was always naturally skinny, and was in shape for most of my life. I got fat during COVID because I stopped going to the gym and started eating out of boredom. The difference is huge. Everything from how comfortable I'm when I sit or lay down, to how my clothes fit and rub against my skin, to bending over or walking. I used to take all this for granted. Now everything is worse. Life is worse. People treat you differently, and, frankly, that makes sense because being fat is something that, almost all, people can control. It is a sign of laziness and gluttony and people rightfully judge you for that. People take me less seriously. Being fat sucks. I knew that it would suck, but I didn't realize just how big the difference is. It affects every aspect of your life. Even going to the bathroom is different than it used to be. Things I never thought about before suck now. Going out, taking walks, meeting new people. It's all harder and less enjoyable. Needless to say, I'm working out again and going back to my old eating habits. It's much harder to lose weight than it is to maintain your shape. One other thing I have noticed about being fat, I'm hungry all the time now. I never used to really get hungry, but now after a year of entertainment eating, I get hungry all the time even though I eat more than I used to. It's really unenjoyable.